and I've got Palesa here. We decided that, for Women's Day, we're going to have a woman on our podium so that she can just explain a bit. Welcome, Palesa. Palesa is a therapist. She's just going to go through and elaborate what she does, and she's going to take us through her story. Enjoy.
Right. Good morning. I hope you're all well. As he has mentioned, I am Palesa. So I'm a specialist wellness counselor. There are different types of therapists. I'll name them briefly, and then you can do more research for yourself on each of them. There is a psychiatrist. A psychiatrist is a doctor that specializes in psychiatry. He goes to school for 7 years, and then thereafter, when he starts doing his community service, his internship, when he gets to a hospital, he finds that he likes working with mental health. Then he goes back to school, and it's an additional of maybe 2 to 3 years. Then those doctors are able to prescribe medication. Most of them you'll find in Vesco's, Sterkfontein. And then there are psychologists. Those also go to school approximately 7 years like doctors. You need to do your undergraduates, your honors, your masters, then you do internship and community work. And then there are registered counselors. You do 4 years, which is BPsych equivalent. On your fourth year, when you're now in honors, you also do 6 months of practicals. And then you get your counselors, and then you also get your lay counselors. Your lay counselors is just maybe most of the time metric, and then a bit of counseling courses, that's it. So with me, I have honors in psychology, and then I'm registered with an association called Association for Supportive Counselors and Holistic Practitioners. And thereafter, I did my master's in philosophy and ethics of mental health. Apart from that, I also did life coaching. So I'm registered with ICR, International Life Coach Register. I work with children aged 9 to 19. I work with adults, individuals, like adults as in individuals. I work with couples, and I work with those who are bereaved. And I also do EAP. EAP, short for Employee Assistance Programs. I get hired by organizations at some points to do group debriefing, to do individual counseling, trauma, incident debriefings. It differs.
Okay, very, very interesting. So I met Palesa about, I think, a month ago. We were both invited to speak at an event, and her story is quite interesting. So I just want her to share a bit of what she's been through. She's counseling a lot of people with depression and etc. So I just wanted to share a story, and then we'll take it from there.
Well, depression. There's this, I don't know whether to say stigma when it comes to mental health. People are actually scared to go seek help. I was once depressed. Well, it depends. Some depression is mainly genetic, meaning that your older people, the older generation, your elders might get it. But for some, it's caused by an incident. For me, I lost a son in 2018, so that made me to go into depression. I was 25 weeks pregnant, and all of a sudden, the placenta just abrupted. I had to go into emergency C-section, and my son survived for like 8 or 9 hours, and then he passed on. I couldn't believe. When the doctor came to tell me that, ma'am, are you Christian? I was wondering, why is he asking me that? And then he held my hand, started praying, and thereafter he said, may his soul rest in peace. I was so uneasy and uncomfortable. I couldn't even move because I just came from theater. I had to lay there in bed. They couldn't even take me with the wheelchair because I was still numb. My lower part was still numb. So after 2 hours, they brought him in. He was still hot. I could not believe. I tried shaking him, I tried waking him, but nothing was happening. I yelled, I cried. I wanted to pull my hair out because I could not believe that what did I do to actually lose a son? So thereafter, I had to stay in hospital. He was buried later that day. I couldn't go with them due to the operation. So his father, the older sibling, and my relatives had to go bury him. The third day, I'm discharged from hospital. Now they take me to his grave. When I got there, this is what I'm told. Apparently, I started digging his grave because I wanted to see, is he really there? And then my husband was like, scared, what are you doing? So he had to take me home. When I got home, I was just out of it because we already started buying clothes for him. We were preparing a room for him to say, okay, this is going to be baby's room, this is your room, Buhlali, and then that's our bedroom. So life was so extreme. Every day my son was still in grade R. He goes to preschool, husband goes to work. Now I'm alone at home. Some days I would actually feel as if he is still kicking inside of me. And I would call my gynae to say, no, I still feel movement. And she'd be scared to say, no, ask your husband to bring you in. There is no baby. Your baby passed away. So she'd literally almost every week, she would check, put me under scan to reassure me there is no baby. You need to let go. It was very hard. I was alone, no one in the house. My mom is a teacher, so she has to be in class. So with you being operated, that's major trauma in your body. I have to move from my bedroom to the kitchen to make food. I can't, I'm gloomy, I'm in pajamas, tearful when I'm watching TV, seeing other kids on the TV, I would just scream. I'm more of a Christian, so when I watch TD Jakes, there were certain topics that he would mention and I would just start yelling and crying and my husband would think I was just hysterical. To a point where I had to go back to the gynae and then she prescribed antidepressants. When I started taking antidepressants, I was no longer that hysterical as I was. Slowly but surely, I started accepting that, oh no, wow, he's gone. Yeah. He's not coming back. I had to go to his grave almost every day just to reassure myself. By then, when I was going through depression, I didn't even think what my son is thinking. He was going through, because he was 6 by then. I didn't even think, what is my husband going through? Yeah. My husband would wait for my son and I to fall asleep. And he would sit. Literally, he was turning into an alcoholic because he slept around 2, drinking so that he can fall asleep. And then when I went back to work, a colleague of mine, a psychologist, said, now just bring your son. I want to check if he's okay. He had 1 or 2 sessions. They saw that he's okay. I started sessions. Mr. Mbuli, that's the colleague, he said, I don't want you to be on antidepressants because they numb your feeling. You need to experience what you're going through. So I had to relive the pain. I had to tell him how did it go about for me to lose the baby and so forth. So I went for therapy for a year. Before anniversary of his death, he said, I need to see you again because now you're going to relive everything. So I went there. It was traumatic. I had to cry again and the whole procedures and so forth. So my depression was mainly from 2018 September until 2022 January, so where we found like almost 4 years. So it was now becoming chronic.
Because how long did you take the pills for then?
The pills I took for 6 weeks, because when you operated, they give you 6 weeks. Then you go back to... Yes. So immediately when I went to work, he said, no, you stop this. So I was regressing. Some moments I'm fine. It's just like a person who has bipolar. One moment you're up there, then the next moment some moments I'm crying. And working in a hospital, you walk past people who are pregnant and you feel, why doesn't she lose her baby? Why did I have to lose it? So that is why it was up and down. Until we discovered that we're pregnant again in January 2022. That's when it was like, oh wow, God, finally you're hearing my prayers. And then it stopped. I had to focus, but the pregnancy was tough. I had to hide the pregnancy, thinking, oh my gosh, what if I lose this child?
I hear you.
Yes, so it was very scary. And unfortunately, the pregnancy was also not easy because the doctor didn't do justice on my uterus. So I had to give birth earlier as well. So seeing your child in hospital, it was also traumatic for me. It made me to be depressed again. But now I couldn't really be on antidepressants because now I had to breastfeed and so forth. But when she came home, that's when everything was lifted. That's when I had hope again. I gave her Lihutso, her second name, Hope, to say you are a God of hope, you are a God of restoration.
So when you're going through this tough time, you're counseling people that are going through a lot of issues, and now you're going through a lot of issues as well. Were you continue to counseling people? Were you angry and not doing your work? What was happening there? Because it's sort of like now you are hope to some people, but you're also not going through a lot of things. So how did you balance that part of you? Like, were you still working, or what was happening?
You have to continue with your day-to-day. You have no choice. Even my other colleagues, psychologists, psychiatrists, we all go through things. This is life. There's no one who's perfect. You just have to take off that hat, and then this is now Patiso. He's in front of me, he needs help. I must forget what I'm going through. So what makes it easier for me, when you come with your own stories, when I say that, no, you're not hearing me, and then I'll tell you that, okay, this is what I went through.
I hear you.
So this is what makes it easier for me. And then that's when you'll be able to heal as well.
So do you think that this whole thing is divine, in terms of, does God put you through situations so that you can be able to experience it? then when someone else goes through the same thing, you can be able to say, listen, I went through this, and God is there, or whatever the situation is.
I think it's divine.
You think so?
I think so, because my tears become your testimony.
Mm.
People out there, even the famous Connie Ferguson,
Yeah.
she lost her husband, she was depressed. But now, funny enough, you can, even when you watch TV, she's busy advertising for Ashiko. Why would you do that? Because it reminds you of death. But in a way, it's a way for her to heal. So it's actually God saying, I'm using you to go through this so you can help the next individual.
Do you think it's fair, though, that I've seen a lot of leaders go through a lot of things in life that break them, but then they become a testimony? You say they're becoming a testimony for the other people. Do you think it's honestly fair that we have to go through a lot of things in order for us to sort of help the next person?
It's not fair, but if not us.
I hear you. That's actually a good statement.
Remember in the Bible, Job, Job?
Yeah, Job, yeah.
The devil had to go ask permission so that he can do whatever it is, but God said, do not touch his soul. So he took away the children, animals, like his riches, but he went through it. At the end, God was able to restore. It's the same with us humans. I was ripped off. My child was inside me. I used to feed him. He went with me everywhere, like sleeping, bathing. He was literally there. And then now he's gone. I had to go and relive life without him. But now, Butselo, the one who's here, has come to bring that restoration. So there are mummies who come to me, who lost kids, and then I'll assure them, don't worry.
Okay.
You'll be okay. I was also okay. Apart from being depressed due to losing a child, there was a lot there's a lot that people go through. Marital as well. Marriage is tough. And then couples come and they'll think, yeah, you say this because we saw you holding hands with your husband. It's not that easy. There are days where it's all lovey-dovey, and there are days you feel like I'm going to strangle you. But there are reasons why you have to go through all of it. The same with parenting as well. Some days are tough with Buhlali and some days are easy. So as therapists, I think it becomes easier if you share your story so that the next person sees that you're not a robot, you're not perfect. You're also human.
Christianity versus depression. Your take on it. Before you got depressed, what was your take on it? And after you got depressed, what's your take on it? Because there is this notion that depression is demonic. I don't know if you've heard about that. There's a lot of people that think depression is demonic. You're not supposed to get depressed. Whenever I accept Christ as Lord and Savior, I'm supposed to have this smooth life. So before you got depressed, were you in that part? And then after you got depressed, did it change you? What happened there?
Well, for me, it's quite difficult. I just wish you had audiences because I'm in the profession. So I know that depression is not demonic. This is the stigma that you're trying to fight against as mental health professionals. There are those Christians that when someone is really sick, they have a mental illness, they'll think it's demonic, which is wrong. There's nothing wrong with having a mental illness. Help is out there. Because even if you look in the Bible, there is that one guy that used to stay in the grave and he was possessed by demons and so forth. But if you put it mental health wise, that is when we say you have hallucinations and delusions. So why would you say it's demonic? Even in the Bible, there were those people who were going through it.
I hear you. So did it change your afterwards? You were like, okay, I'm a Christian, I'm a woman, I'm serving God, I'm helping these people out, but I can still get this. So what was your situation there? That's my question.
Actually, I knew that there was depression even before I got into this profession because of the situation at home. My parents were not so good, the marriage was not so good. So I would see my mom, some days she'll be clean, some days she'll not be clean. So that's what gave me that interest to say, now I want to go into this field, to learn more about it. I didn't think it's demonic. I saw it as one of normal conditions, flu, headache.
I hear you.
So for me, it has nothing to do with demons. It's actually a person, just like you coughing, you need a doctor. It's the same with depression.
Let's talk about acceptance. Now, you were talking about, there's like a lot of issues with drugs and a lot of issues with alcohol and the issues that people go through that they can't speak about because of, you become shamed, or stigma about it. If a person is born, let's say with HIV, or you are born with, sugar diabetes, those are the things that you didn't ask for. If you are born in a family that's got depression, there's chances that you'll suffer through depression. Things like, homophobic, whatever the situation is. How do we accept the phase that God is putting you through? So now you're going through depression, then you didn't ask for it. Remember, you didn't ask that your child must get lost. How do you accept the situation that God is putting me through? This situation, God is putting me through addiction, God is putting me through whatever grief, whatever I'm going to have to go through now. How do people accept that?
For starters, biblically wise, you hear the pastors and whoever say we need to get rid of generational curses.
Yeah.
I might say sort of like a generational curse.
Yeah.
The reason why you need to get rid of it is that our parents were not taught that you need to go see a doctor if you go through this and that. They were taught rather go outside to your garden, take whatever herb, mix it, drink, you will be okay. So for you to get through it, acceptance, if there's someone who has addiction, go seek help. There are rehabilitation centers.
Yeah.
Depression. Remove the shame, remove the guilt, remove whatever it is that people might perceive of you. Go to clinics, go to hospitals, and just go seek help.
Yeah.
That's the only way. That's the only way you can actually break it. Because once you see, for example, let's say you age range between 35 to 45, and you're seeing that your cousin in his 50s has this outburst, angers, and so forth, then you're able to pick up to say, no, he's starting to behave like Uncle so-and-so. Let me book an appointment for him and let's get help for him. You mustn't just brush it off and say, it's a family thing. No, get help.
Men and depression. I know this. Men and depression, your take. Why do men not seek help? Why do men? I mean, we've had a lot of these soul activation sessions. Men hardly come because it's. I mean, we were with the guys yesterday as well. It was quite like hard because when you're explaining these things, they get it to say, yeah, but guys, we need help, but they never step out to get help, to have any information why men don't believe in depression. I think a lot of men are depressed. That's what I think, but I don't think they are aware that they're depressed. So how can we help in that regard?
You know, there's this thing, it gets to me. In Zulu, they will say, in your bed,
Yeah.
So you grow up with that thing that men don't cry. Men do actually cry. And you'll be taken as if you're a sissy, you're a girl, if you express your feelings, which is quite wrong. That's what parents put their boy kids through.
Yeah.
There are a lot. I see them, and funny enough, nowadays in therapy, a lot of men do cry. And some are hurt by, I wouldn't even say hurt, you have ego, sorry, but there's this thing that, well, they'll think I'm weak. There's no such. When you see that you are really going through hell, don't tell your wife if need be. Just go, please don't say anything to my wife, but I think I need help. And then we can help you get through it. Like as I've said, my husband, he was also grieving, he was also going through depression. But with that fear, what will people think of me? He dealt off the grief in a different way. Instead, he was using substance, alcohol, to get rid. Maybe in his way, he thought, I need to be strong for my wife because we're going through this.
I hear you.
Not thinking that this is actually also hurting him. And yearly, when it comes to our son's birthday and the day that he died, then you see that no, this person is really not okay. We do become emotional, but for him it's worse because he never, during therapy they give you exercises to do, he never had to go through all of that. He had to go through it on his own. Sometimes when I try to help him, let's talk about it, I'm not your patient. So let's just remove the shame and the name calling and that fear that I'll be labeled this week and go seek help.
Okay, we're gonna do part 2 now. Let's just take a break. We'll be back now.